Today on Cinema and Cocktails, do you have what it takes to be an expert wine drinker? And what would you say to someone you've been looking for over 25 years when you meet them for the first time? Those questions are answered in two movies that I'm suggesting that you watch this weekend. Uncorked, starring Mamadou, Athie, and Courtney B. Vance, and One Last Thing, starring Wendell and Jurnee Smollett, can both be found on Netflix. You know the routine, folks. Let's watch them, mix them, and drink them. If you had to choose a career, what would you rather do? Would you rather work in a barbecue joint, or would you rather work in a restaurant, suggesting to people some of the finest wines that the world has to offer? I don't know. For me personally, I would have to go with the serving of wine. And that is because I am a bougie individual, okay? I am not about that life, about chopping wood and smoke and soot burning all over me and, basting and chopping up meat and all that type of stuff. That ain't my thing. I'd rather stand back and tell you to try something from 1957 that has a slight hint of bubbly in it, or the effervescence of the 71
Having someone
Bordeaux.
support you.
I would much rather do that.
Unconditionally.
But again, like I said, that's just me. And that's what Uncorked is about. It follows the journey of a young man who's trying to balance his dream of becoming a master sommelier against what his family and what his father wants him to do, which is work inside the Memphis barbecue joint. It's a simple premise, but extremely well executed because of the wonderful actors who were involved in this presentation. So let's begin. Courtney B. Vance plays Lewis, who has a reputable 73 credits to his name. I first noticed him way back in the day in that Vietnam war movie, Hamburger Hill, where he played Abraham Doc Johnson. And he was also in The Hunt for Red October. Okay. I forgot that he was in that movie Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Everybody seems to make a stop on Law and Order and on ER. And I may have mentioned Masters of Sex in another episode, but I didn't know that he was on there. I actually kind of tuned out of the Masters of Sex. I don't know. As much as I like sex like anybody else, I don't know. For me, it was just too much sex. Am I saying sex too much? Yeah, it was too much. Okay. And so when he got on there, I must have tuned it out. So, hey. He played an interesting character as in the Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks opposite Oprah Winfrey. But man, was he good in the American Crime Story regarding O.J. Simpson as the incomparable Johnny Cochran. Oh man, he was absolutely fantastic. So, hey, quality actor with Courtney B. Vance. Mamadou Athie is very, very new to the game. He's only got 19 credits to his name. He was in that TV series called The Get Down, which kind of focused on hip hop music. He played the role as Grandmaster Flash. He was in another TV series called Sorry for Your Loss. Another show that I was very, very interested to see him in that I haven't got a chance to check out was something called Oh, Jerome, No. Now, it's supposed to be some kind of offbeat comedy that kind of follows this kind of sensitive guy who is trying to, I guess, adhere to the society's ideas of what it means to be a man, maybe even be a black man. I don't know. But for me, just the idea of it, it's an interesting take on Hollywood because, black men sometimes are almost hyper masculinized. Is that a word? Hyper masculinized? But you know what I mean. I mean, guys, black men are they're super athletes. They're great dancers. They're thugs. They're gangsters. They're like the epitome of what they believe men to be. So it's kind of strange that they would take him and kind of reduce him into this guy who can't seem to really find his way. So I'm curious about that. Sasha Compere plays Tanya, who has a modest 21 credits to her name. lots of shorts and lots of TV appearances. And it's almost like when she was on television, it was like a one episode appearance and then boom, she was gone. One of the few TV shows that she did kind of have, I think, a reoccurring role was on the Dead Girls Detective Agency. I don't know anything about that. And she was also in another TV series called Love Life. So I'm kind of new to, getting to know Sasha Compere. Now, the other woman on this movie was Niecy Nash, and a lot of people know Niecy Nash. Okay, well respected, 85 credits. Another actress who spent a lot of her time on television. Most people probably know her from Reno 911, where she plays Ronisha Williams. I didn't watch too much of that show, so I didn't really, it's funny, but it's not my kind of funny. She was on the Bernie Mac show for a while. Had no idea that she played on American Dad. I mean, she must have been one of the voices as one of those characters on that cartoon show. She also was in Masters of Sex. Again, I must have got there when I had tuned out. She was great on When They See Us. And of course, everybody knows right now she is killing it on that television series called Claws as Desna Williams. Now, as far as the characters each one of these wonderful actors played, Lewis, to me, played by Courtney B. Vance, man, boy, was he a typical black father. Okay. I mean, he was caring, but stern, wants the most for his child, but also, like a lot of fathers, black or white, he wants him to be like him. Okay. Anything else can be met with sometimes compassion, but also a little bit of resistance. As Elijah's father had his own ideas about what he wanted Elijah to become. Okay. And it took a while for him to kind of come around and accept his son's decisions about how to live his life. But it was kind of really cool to see that whole process evolves. I thought Courtney's approach was subtle and nuanced, and he was stern when he needed to be. There were moments of understanding, and there were moments when he really wasn't understanding. Okay. And like most fathers, he just wanted what he believed to be best for his child. Elijah's arc, he needed to learn something about himself. And apparently, as part of his exposition, they focused on the many different ventures he had gone out on, but he never really followed through on anything. So watching him grit his teeth and focus on his goal of becoming a sommelier was definitely inspiring. He navigated his moments of doubt with introspection, finding a very tough resolve to keep moving forward. Sylvia, who played the mom, which was Niecy Nash, she was your typical supportive, loving black mother. I love the fact that they made her such a positive force in the family, and she played the key role that most black mothers do in families, was as the diplomat. Okay. And even outside of black mothers, I think all mothers are constantly playing the role of chief negotiator between fathers and sons. She was regal as the mother on this in this movie, who made sure she supported her son and her husband at the same time. Now, Tanya, she was the girlfriend, okay? And I thought she played a key role of motivation for Elijah. The two of them had their ups and downs, but again, another wonderful representation of a supportive relationship. She pushed him without challenging his manhood and made sure never to berate him or have him lose his temper in a manner that can be so typical sometimes when you see relationships like this where the two kind of go back and forth, especially sometimes in that negative kind of stereotypical manner that, people portray black relationships on sometimes, unfortunately. The dialogue, I thought, was absolutely fantastic. The conversations between Sylvia and Lewis were spot on. They really sounded like typical black parents, always trying to one up one another and get in the last word. Courtney's quick side shots were a delight. Okay. He was constantly getting in that last little blip, trying to make somebody laugh or, to try to get in that last word. I thought Elijah and Tanya's conversation was also done extremely well. There were a couple of scenes where they had some neat subtext kind of, slid in there that really kind of lightened the mood and made for an enjoyable exchange between the characters. The only time the conversation honestly didn't really seem genuine was between Elijah and his wine contemporaries. I thought their conversation seemed really, really forced and a little bit stiff. Now, what exactly was this movie about? It was to me, it was Elijah versus himself, and it was Elijah versus his dad. Okay. Elijah needed to find himself. When we meet him, he seems to be content with his life, but he's looking something beyond working in just a wine store in his father's restaurant. And when he takes on the idea of becoming a sommelier, it's within that he begins to find his purpose. And even though he has, missed on some of his past ideas, he seems very, very set on making this dream come true. The other conflict is with Elijah and his dad. Now, when it comes to his dad, Lewis had his own plans for Elijah, and the two just don't mix. He thinks he knows what's best for Elijah since he is his father. And the conflict between the two is actually, it kind of serves as a motivation for Elijah, which really kind of begins to push him towards his goal. Now, the plot type of this movie, I thought was, it was like the Golden Fleece. It was a journey. When Elijah takes off on this journey to become a sommelier, he really discovers how important his family is. Okay. And he also understands what level of dedication is needed to achieve his goal, and how his relationship with his dad has really shaped his life. Everything that he has to overcome affects Elijah, but nothing like the relationship between him and his dad. I thought watching this evolution throughout the film was a beautiful thing, as he learns about his dad, his sacrifices, his dedication, and his responsibility as head of the household. It gets appreciated over the progression of the film. Now, thematically, I thought, to me, the main theme of this movie was self-discovery. Elijah has to find himself. Okay, he needs to understand that his role as a son, as a boyfriend, as a sommelier, as heir to the family business, all of these roles are presented throughout the story, and it's very satisfying watching him negotiate how he's going to fill each of these roles as he defines what he believes what is best for him as he continues on this journey. Now, the film followed a perfect 3-act structure, extremely well balanced. In the first act, the hook and the setup is you finally see what Elijah wants to become. In the second act, he navigates some of the conflicts with his dad and himself as to what it takes to become a sommelier. About midway through, we see some complications within his own family. And then, of course, the resolution, the climactic ending, I can't really get into it giving the story away. So you have to watch how the film resolves itself. The director, Prentice Penny, is the writer and the director of this movie, who did a wonderful job. He's only got 4 credits to his name. Okay. He's been more of a producer, kind of been behind the scenes of such great television shows as Insecure, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Hustle, Scrubs. But a lot of these things were TV series. So for him, venturing out into, the motion picture world was something new for him. As far as the movies go, I thought Memphis looked great. I thought the visuals of the restaurant, the city of Memphis, the city of Paris, all done exquisitely. Everyone's outfits fit their personalities. I love the way Courtney and Niecy dressed in this movie, especially the hats that Courtney kept rocking. I thought those were really, really cool. He also made sure, and I thought this was very, very important, that this movie stayed away from some of the tropes and stereotypes that sometimes befall African Americans in movies like this. Nobody was loud, overbearing, smoking weed, playing basketball, using foul language. I mean, the N-word kind of popped out a few times, and to be honestly, it could have been avoided. I mean, I didn't even think it needed to even be used, but I guess they wanted to go for authenticity. And that authenticity sometimes is some of the issues that I think I have with Hollywood. I think Hollywood sometimes imprisons African Americans within their own culture by showing them different types of images. And while they may have a place within the culture of the community, for me, watching this movie, it was cool to see something different. I mean, seriously, a young black male trying to become a sommelier. It was something that's so cultural and intellectual. It was a joy to see somebody go after something like that instead of trying to get a scholarship to play football or trying to make the basketball team. It was just neat to see something different like that. The editing was great, and I thought it really conveyed the emotionality of some of the characters, and at some places it definitely pulled at the heartstrings. The scenes and the set were exceptionally done, and it kind of gave you the real sense and certain scenes of what it meant like to be in a working class family, even though they were probably doing a little bit better than most working class families in Memphis. The only thing I took issue with, and I really hate to go there, was I did not like the music. Okay. I know the director wanted to stay true to this by using, Memphis rap artists, but man, trap music to me just did not fit this movie. You got a guy who's focusing on wine and whatnot. And it's just, family and self-discovery. And to hear music that was dropping the N-word